which is a Thursday. So red zone day. Last one, and then, finishing touches tomorrow. It's been a good week. Zeitler will be the only one right now that's going to be down today. He's progressed every day. We'll see. Take it as it comes. If not, it'll be Mahogany. That's the next question. Everything else, we're good. Questions?
Mahogany performed in that lone start he had. I mean, how much confidence does that give you that, Zeitler's one of those 50-50 cases that you can trust the rookie?
Yeah, we thought that was a good showing by him, and it's worthy if it goes there to give him a shot, But then there again, we got Yodi as well. He's played playoff snaps for us, and we trust him as well. So we feel like we're in good hands.
Dan, you had talked before the season about going from being the hunter to the hunted and how it would be an adjustment for you guys, for your team. Now that you're going into the playoffs, number one seed, has it been an adjustment at all, or do you expect it to be an adjustment going forward?
No, actually, I felt like the biggest adjustment for us was training camp out at New York. That was the first real taste of, kind of the perception. And I thought the Giants, man, they practiced hard. They brought it, it was a lot of energy, a lot of juice. And I thought that was good for us to get that. And it's like, now you know what what it's going to be like all season. And we've handled it. I mean, we handled it well. And I don't feel like we know we're going to get everybody's best shot. We know that every week. And it doesn't matter if it's who we've played, what week it is. And our guys understand that. And I think the most important thing is it doesn't matter where you're at, where you're seated, how many wins you have. You got to stay hungry. And our team's hungry.
Something you were asked the other day about Washington's aggressiveness on fourth down. You guys obviously have done that for a long, long time. A couple of your players talked about the importance of being first and second down.
Sure.
You have to play 4 downs on defense. How does that change things for defense?
Yeah, well, honestly, I think defensively the big thing is first down is huge. You can say first down is huge. You would love to, put yourself in an advantageous position on defense going into second down. I think that kind of leads into everything because, now your odds go up that if it is a fourth down, it's a lot further out than anybody's comfortable with, hopefully. For them, and offensively the same thing. And so the first down is really the big one, and you can make it up on second down, but that's not always easy to do. So I think that's big. And then I think you take it as it comes. I think you play the game as you feel. You try to stay ahead of the sticks. And I think, really, you ask from a defensive perspective from ours, the most important thing is do not get frustrated. You cannot get frustrated. We've done a good job of that. Like, we accept the fact they're going to make a couple plays. They've made them against everybody they've played against. That's okay. The most important thing is we line back up and we go again. We go again, because the next play is the one that will change the game.
In another context, just adding on to that, when you think about how last season ended in the playoffs, and this is the first playoff game, what's the redeeming lesson from what happened in the playoffs last season?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything redeeming other than, I think there was a lot of things and that went down and happened in the second half. And I think really once you get in that moment and, you go against a team who's been there time after time, playing at a high level, really good football players, San Francisco, and, man, they willed that to happen more than we were able to overcome and made the plays in opportune times, and we didn't, and it was they made plays, and we also did not make plays. And I just think there's something about being in that moment, in that space, going through it with the core group of guys you have, So I think more than anything, it's the experience of it.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
His addition to that, what you've seen from him.
Yeah, I got a lot of respect for Marshawn, having him at New Orleans. I think he's a heck of a football player, man. He's feisty. He's competitive. The physical attributes he has. I mean, he's he can run. And he's got hands, he's got ball skills, he can flip his hips, all that. But it's really the competitiveness, man. That's what you appreciate about him. So he's helped them. He's a good football player, and he's somebody we got to be aware of.
You had Zach Ertz in here last year. He said if he would have won that San Francisco game, he would have probably played in the Super Bowl. Did you guys try to keep him, and how good is he still?
Yeah, he's I'll tell you what, he's a weapon for them in the red zone. That's where he really, really shows up. And then there's been some critical fourth downs, third downs where he's shown up out in the field the pass game. You know, some of these where he gets matched up one-on-one. And that's where he thrives. You know, he can still do that because he's got hands, he's got length. You know, he can pluck the ball, and so even if you're attached to him, he can make those plays. So he's somebody, particularly in the red zone, we got to know where he's at. We got to match up well with him. He's a pro, man. You know, he's a pro's pro, and it's everything you would expect out of him. They're using him exactly the right way. So yeah, he's a good player.
For your defense, with all the no huddle that they run, it's different than.
Yeah, look, it's the same communication, obviously, and they've gotten a number of people with that. You know, they're back to the ball, and then they're running personnel on straight to the ball, and then here they go. And I would tell you, there's a number of things that have come up where they're not holding the football. You know, and that's a substitution. So we'll be on that. We'll talk about all that pregame. We're going to be able to sub. We'll be able to sub, get in the packages we need to. And really it's when we have our groups that come in, we know we're matching immediately. We're not getting in a huddle. We're hearing the calls. We come out and we're matching them because then the official will get out and we're ready to play. We've been working it, talking it, seeing it. But it's challenging, you know, because they'll do some third down now where they run out a jumbo tight end, and he's like reporting and running and putting his hand in the ground, and it's unbalanced, and, you know, they're pretty creative with all that.
You guys have been so good in primetime games. I guess what are some of the things that you stress in terms of game day routine that allows your team to kind of be at their sharpest for these night games? I
don't know if there's something that we say, okay, this is, you know, it's this type of game, this is how we're going to, I think it's just about, you know, I think we handle the perception of pressure well, the lights, all of it, you know, and really we handle 1 o'clock games too, right? I mean, we handle that pretty well too. So, but I think for us, I think a lot of times, you know, 2 things happen, and it happens in those type of games. It happens in the playoffs. I've said this, I said it last year, and you either, man, you crumble. You know, it's too much, and some guys crumble, teams crumble, because it's just too much pressure. You can feel the lights, the bright lights. Or you want it so bad that you go out of the norm and you start trying to make plays instead of just doing your job that got you 15 wins. Just do your job. The guy next to you will do his one more time. That's all. And we've been good about that, and I would foresee us doing that again. So I think we enjoy it, you know. We enjoy it. We embrace this. We love the atmosphere. We love everything about this, man. And I just feel like we thrive in this.
The impact your home crowd has in these games when the team's playing in shotgun as much as they do, how much more difficult can a crowd make it for an offense?
Well, I look, it's a norm for them. It's you know, certainly something that they do time after time. They've played in some games where they can't hear, you know, and they'll do a lot of the clap cadence, stuff like that, to where they can hear. But I go back to, look, it only takes one, you know, and so you can be in loud environments. Ours will be the loudest they've been in all year. And now, how does it affect them? It only takes one. It only takes one for it to be something goes awry, and whether that's that ends that series or it you know, something happens out of it, and that's all you're looking for, you know. That's all you're hoping for. So I'm glad we're at home, and I can't wait to hear our crowd, and we know they're behind us, and it's going to be electric.
How unique is the fan engagement? I mean, you see, you've been to the Super Bowl as a player, you've been around a lot of successful teams, but you see some of the things that happen here. St. Brown getting life-size cakes, light shows, to a lot of things the fans are doing. How unique is that? Well, how these fans are engaged with the team?
How do I just say that? Yeah, it is unique, and I go back to look. It's one of the things that was. I go back to this. It was one of the things that for somebody like me was appealing about playing here, wanting to play here, and coach here. this is a sleeping giant for football. And they, Pistons have had success, Red Wings have had success, but the Lions have never had success. And just to be able to unlock everything, this is a sports town, and for everybody to feel like they're a part of it. Like, man, this is our team, and they represent us, and what they're about and the way they play. We can stand behind that. And so every little thing that comes up, the St. Brown, people are dyeing their hair now. It's pretty cool, and we feel the love, and we appreciate it. We do.
You have 20 guys on your roster who were here from 2021 from the jump, which is kind of unusual in the NFL. So you got about 20 guys on your roster that are here from the jump, and not to diminish anybody else, but what does that sort of core group mean to you that sort of helped you raise this from?
Means everything. That group means everything, and so do the coaches. We've been in. I just bring it up again, man. It's, so many. You have to reload every year, and you got to start over in a sense. But yet, man, if you don't forget where you came from and who you are, then what are you doing? You lose a part of yourself if you forget all that. So that group, man, helped us, rise from the ashes, if you will. And those are the guys, man, you don't ever forget, because they went through the hard stuff, the hard times, all of it, being doubted, but to believe, just continue to believe and put the work in. And it's a number of reasons why we have so many of those guys are still here, and it goes back to trust, man. Those guys put the work in. We trust the heck out of them. They believe in everything that we're doing, and everybody else falls right in line. They become one of them.
Coach Phipps said that your ability to predict how a game is going to go is better than any other coach he's been around. When you hear that, what goes through your mind? And second, at what point did you realize that you had that type of a feel for the game that might be different than anybody else?
Well, I don't know. I appreciate Phipps saying that. I don't know about all of that. I don't know. I try to, like anybody else, you watch game after game after game of the opponent. You know yourself well enough to understand where you're at and what it's going to take and where your matchups are at. And I think you do your best to foreshadow where you think the game's going to go. And, and then you tell the team, you tell the coaches, you tell the team, this is where I feel like it's going to go, and if we're in this situation, this is how we're going to handle it, this is what we're going to do. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, but do the best you can.
Fans from Windsor, just curious, just on the light side, sir.
Who are you pointing at?
Back here, sir. Canada from Windsor, picking up on the question earlier, you have a lot of fan base in Canada, in Windsor, of course. How does it make you feel that, our people, our fans have embraced you and your team?
Yeah, it's awesome. It is. And right across the river, man. So they're all a part of this too, and I know it's no different than, you're here and you're upstate, you're down in Texas, you're South Florida, you're across the river. We got fans in Mexico too. I got something on that, So, man, we appreciate them, and we know they're out there as well.
We go down the line. We'll go Jared, Sean.
When you look for players or people, whoever, to fit into your culture here, I know you have certain traits you look for. Is there one non-negotiable, one thing that they have to have?
Yeah, well, you got to be competitive. I mean, that may be a no shit statement. Excuse my French, but you better be competitive, because otherwise I don't know what to do with somebody that it's hard to teach somebody to be competitive. Either you have it or you don't.
How have you seen Al-Qadim Muhammad continue to grow throughout the season, and what can you say about his mindset when he's out on the field?
Mr. Muhammad? Dude, he's grown. As a matter of fact, we were talking about him yesterday. He came up in the defensive staff room. Man, we really feel like over the last 3 weeks, he's gotten better and better and better. He came, we brought him in. We had to use him basically immediately, got him out there, and, man, he gave us everything he had, but he'd also just walked back in the building, and so he's a little rusty, and then trying to learn terminology, and then scheme too. Just the style at which we play was different than what he's played in his career. We asked him to do things a little bit different, and so there was a growing period for a veteran guy. And he's done it, man, and I feel like he's really coming around, and that's encouraging.
Dan, you've talked often about different guys coming at different paces, speeds, arriving at different times. Jameson Williams was talking to us yesterday in the hallway outside the locker room, and when the 1,000 yards came up, you could, the smile, the pride, he talked about what it meant, not just to him, but some people he cares a lot about. I'm curious about your sense of pride with him and how you've led him and kind of helped him.
Yeah, I got a lot of pride with him, man. He's one of those guys, man. I love that kid, and because he's had to endure a lot, and look, some of it is own doing, and he knows that, and that's what I appreciate is that he's, it took him a minute to buy into what we were doing. He can be a little hard-headed, and it's also why you love him. It's why I love him. But man, he's learned along the way, and he's grown. And honestly, you want to say, what is the best thing he's done? Is that, man, when he dropped the armor and he endeared himself to his teammates. He became part of the team, and that took place last year. Towards the end of last year, you could start to feel it. And it's only gotten better and better and better. And every one of these that's happened, he's grown, he's learning from it, and I love where he's at. I really do. I'm proud of him.
How did you help him drop that?
I don't know if I did anything about that. Look, you try to tell him what's on your mind. You try to give him the reality of the situation. Tell him what you think about him. Give him the good and the bad. Be honest with him. And tell him where you really believe he can go, and what you think he is. And then the rest is up to him. And look, we've got an unbelievable support staff. Antoine does a great job. Ben Johnson, Sean Pugh, and Jessica. I mean, there's so many people involved. St. Brown, Leaf. I mean, we've. But man, I said this last year. He's part of the herd now. He's part of the stock. I mean, and that's the best thing ever.
Yep, I did want to ask Jared about how was it at practice this week one, and then the other thing is, from a head coaching perspective, we all know his mindset, makeup, the playoff success that he's had. But from a coaching perspective, what's the next step for him from being a guy in his prime to potentially being a Super Bowl winning quarterback?
Yeah, well, he's been great this week. I mean, he practice has been, and it's rare when he doesn't have a good practice, and they come up every once in a while, a day, and then it'll always bounce back if that happens the next day. But he's been good. He's been really good all week. And you asked the next step. It's the same step for every one of us. Same step for me as a coach, for the coordinators, for him as a quarterback, for St. Brown as a receiver, for Alex Anzalone as linebacker. Just do your job. One more game here, and then we'll worry about the next game. That's it. You just keep playing at a high level, get us in the right play, and understand that it's not all about you. We don't live and die by one player, one coach, no nothing. We work as a team, as a unit, and trust the guy next to you.
Just curious, we've seen and discussed, the power of the running back and how that's a popular core in offenses these days in the NFL. But when you look back to planning for this, did you envision the tandem of Jameer and David being as powerful as it is compared to the rest of the league?
Yes. Yeah. David, I told you this from the get-go. David, we were fortunate to be in the division with him, and he was a pain in the rear. I hated playing against him because I thought he was a hammer. I thought what we get, and we've got even better than that, and I thought he was a good player. But just a tone setter, heavy, great feet, can cut, finishing power, can protect, receiver out of the back, so can do it all, but he's a hammer. And then when we saw Gibbs, when Brad and I saw Gibbs, I mean, we were blown away. We saw the fit immediately. And so the thought of having it for us, it was always about a 1-2 punch, and I mentioned my time as a player when I was in New York. We had Ron Dane, Tiki Barber, and then, and then Sean Payton was the offensive coordinator, and then, New Orleans, we had Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray, Alvin Kamara. So just having that 1-2 punch, and they're a little bit different, but they're both productive, was huge, man. So, yeah, I did.
Thanks.
Yep.